Okay, so yesterday's continuation, we have created a solution in here, which is called SSIS underscore training solution, um, which is again we'll start working on each of those packages and components on an individual basis. Then we can learn more. Okay, to start with it, let me do one thing. In fact, I can share my screen. That's okay. Okay, so just a second. Okay, SSIS. Okay, so continuation from there, we are going to create a new package, right? We'll start with the data flow components first, and then we can move further onto the control flow component. So let's start with it. In this data flow task component, what we're going to discuss today, pretty much, let's start with the SQL itself. So as I said, the data flow components would be pretty much like a source, a transformation, and the destination, right? So so for that reason, we'll stay with the source of SQL Server. Okay, I have muted everybody, but you can, if you have any questions, you can ping me, or you have any problem understanding me or hearing me, you can just ping or raise your hand up there. I will be able to see you guys. Okay, so let's start with the SQL Server, right? That could be an OLDB source. I have chosen OLDB source, and I'm going to configure it. So what you're going to do is drag and drop it, and then double click it. So this is the window it's going to open. And then, as you don't have an existing connection, you have to make a connection. Just like in our SSMS, when you try to connect to a server, you use the dialog box of a database connection engine and all, right? So the same level of things would happen when you hit the new button here. Okay, so again, in new, this will indeed replicate that, right? So let's drop down it. I don't know my server name. Probably I should have hidden a dot. That would also gain access to the local server, but let's let it work on it. Okay. Probably nothing. Right, local server, and in here, I am going to talk about the worldwide importers database. That's what I would connect to. Test my connection. My connection has succeeded. So I'll say OK, and it's localhost dot worldwide importers. That's my connection name. I'm going to say OK. In this particular connection, now you connected to a server as well as a database. Now you have to connect to a table, right? This drop down in here, you have a table view or a SQL command or a SQL command from a variable. When you have to diametize, or you want to send a table name from an outer of an package, that is like as I said in the earlier class when we were talking about the parameterization or a parameters in a SSIS package. This is the variables is one thing which will help you to send from an external world to here. So let's not get into deeper. For now, we'll choose a table and view. So this dropdown will consist of existing views and tables, that which is hosted in that particular database and that particular server. So let's drop down. What I'm going to choose is application.people. Let's choose that. Let's do a preview. I have a few people, person IDs, as well as full name, preferred search name, some login information and all, logon names and all. Those are the informations I have. So I'm going to say close, and I would choose the columns which I want to draw. So let's say out of these all columns, I only want to pick up 3 columns. Let's say person ID, first name, and the preferred name. No, let's say these are the 3 columns I want. I would just say okay. Now this source will be able to talk to that particular server, particular database, particular person table, and get me back all those 3 columns, right? As a simple example, let's throw that into a destination of a flat file. I'm going to use a flat file destination and drag the line from here to here. I'll connect the success layer. If you right click on it, you would be able to know what exactly is it. Based on its properties, you would see source output will be coming through this layer and all. So that's about this predecessors, or you can say line. That's good enough to say it. Okay, let's configure the flat file. Even the flat file need to be configured, because you don't know whether you have a file or you want to create a file, whether there is already data in the file. If there is, you want to overwrite. Those kind of options are already there here. So let's click new. As I don't have any file, I would go ahead and make a file for that. So my file, based on the text files or of CSV files, you usually with a text file, or you have bunch of ways to write. Let's say if I want to write something into a text file, the format is more important, right? I would use spaces in between every word I want to use. Let's say if I have 4 or 5 columns and I want to use space between them, then it could be a spaced fixed width space. Or if I want to put a comma between every column, then it could be a comma separated file. Or if I want to put a pipe symbol between every single column, then it could be a pipe separated file, but you can still use a delimiter to identify it. And each of those rows could be separated by a row delimiter, whereas columns would be separated by column delimiter. So we would get into understanding of those, how does those work and all. So for now, let's take the delimiter, right? As we are pushing into destination, which our flat file is empty file. Let's take that. Okay, it's gonna pop up. What do you want to name our destination connection manager? I'll say dest underscore flat file. Let's browse it. I'll go ahead and create one file in my documents folder. I would say new test document. I would say I can give a name, right? Dest underscore person, because I'm getting information for person table. I want to give it a person. So I'm going to say okay. Column names in the first row. Here is what is getting the row delimiter versus column delimiter. If I go to the next page, you will see the column delimiter. Column is being separated by comma, whereas rows are being row delimiter thing. You could change it to a tab or a vertical line or something like that. But readably, this is better. You won't see this delimiter sign, but you could see every single row in a separate thing. Okay. So as soon as I clicked on this one, it created what exactly would be my column names in that flat file, right? So it created that. Okay. If there is anything wrong, you could reset it, and you feel that certain columns are not right, you could move on to advanced, change them, suggest types if it is missing anything. More of my ID is a signed integer, whereas a name is a varchar string, right? So those would be automatically identified. But 70% of the time, what would happen is everything when pushed into a flat file would be treated as strings. Even the numbers and everything would be treated as strings. So even though you want to care much about it, you may not see a real fruitful output out of it, because it will all be treated as strings. But yeah, there are options up here. You could preview the data here. If there is already existing data and you're overwriting, you could also preview it. So let's say I hit on OK. I'm going to map it. Everything is mapped. I'm going to say OK. So as soon as I hit the start button here, what would happen is the data from this particular table would travel through this channel and load it into a destination file, which is almost like 1,470 rows have been filled into this flat file. So you could just go back onto the documents where I have this file. I could open it. You can see this information. This first row is my column names. All the rest of the information is more of my data, which is separated by comma, but every line is separated by a row delimiter, which you cannot see unless until you copy the same exact information into a notepad plus plus, use some kind of options in there, then you could find the row delimiter and all. Okay, so that's about the source to destination transfer. Let's this is a now let's do a package where I'm going to consume this from a flat file and load it into a table. Okay, so I'm going to say this one as rename. I'll say SQL server underscore 2 underscore flat file dot dtsx. Okay, next package, I'll make one more package, new package, and this package I'm going to use an data flow task. Inside the data flow task, this destination is more like a flat file, right? So I am going to choose the source as a flat file source, and in this flat file I'm going to find out the connection, browse it. This is the flat file what I'm going to take as an input. Map, check this. Okay, everything is good. So I'm going to say okay, and I'm going to load this thing in a destination, OLEDB destination. I'll take that destination, connect it up here. This destination, I want to load it into a new database, so I'm going to create a new connection dot from the drop down I have a training database, right? So I'm going to say test it. Okay, that's good, that's good, that's good. Now if you see from an OLEDB source versus OLEDB destination, it looks quite similar, whereas you had the same options from source to destination, but destination would have something called a fast load, which is effective when you're trying to load bulk. It's kind of like a bulk insert and all. So let's say I choose a table or view, but I don't have the table. What I can do is I could click this new button. It'll go create the script for me what exactly the table would look like and how could I fill it up, right? As you see, when the data is being consumed from the flat file to an SQL server, it is treating everything as a string information, right? So that's the information I told you earlier. So yeah, I'll name this table as person table, PRS1. Okay, as soon as I hit OK, the table is now created. Let's map it. Okay, okay, everything is being mapped. That's good. Now yeah, that's more than enough. So let's say if I execute this particular package, what would happen is the data from this particular file is traveling and pushing into an OLEDB destination. The particular server, particular database is getting filled. You could open it back. So let's stop the package. Once you click it, now see the existing data, everything is loaded back into this. Right? Or you could open your own SSMS, try to query out that particular table in that particular database, and you should see the data. Okay. There is one way to see if the data is moving or not. That is called enable data viewer, which will do the similar function. Now, what's going to happen if I rerun the packages? Again, the data from this flat file is going to move back into the table. That means the duplication of the data would happen. But I'm okay with it, so I'm running it. So as soon as I run it, as I have enabled the data viewer, I could see the information. It's just like a summary or more like a visibility of about 200 to 300 rows or something like that. But more of what it will also display how many rows are being transferred and all. Okay. You could just close it and it will finalize it. Okay, based on your connection, based on your memory, based on how far the server is, the SSIS performance would depend. You could basically be prepared for it, and make sure if you want to log the information to find out which component is running slow and all. That's again a huge topic. We'll talk in detail later. So that's a back and forth of a data. Let's say I have this table and I have the data, right? So let's take an example of an aggregator transfer method, right? I want to see all the information, right? What I'm going to do is, let's see if I have. Okay, I want to see anything that which is groupable. Uh, so I'm going to make up a new package. Okay, for the starting at least. Okay, inside this package, I'm going to use a data flow task. And the data flow task, I'm going to use a source assistant this time, which is again going to connect to my SQL server. Dot. And this database is called a training, right? Test connection, say okay, okay. And in here, my table name is person table. I will connect to it. Okay. So I'm going to use an aggregator transformation. I'll connect to it. So aggregation transformation, I want to find out the count of all the rows in the particular table. Or I could say I want to count by the full name. Okay. So what would be my output? The full name and the number of count. So as far as my knowledge, as I have duplicated the data, everybody should get a 2. So I'm gonna use a sort operator to display the data. With the general sense, you already know when there is a sort operator, it's pretty much like an data sorting would happen. So let's enable the grid viewer here. Okay, and I'm gonna run this. So you could see the data moving up from here to here. Okay, we have this enabled grid viewer. Okay, almost like 2,940 rows moved, and when it aggregated, it gave back only 1,300 rows. You could see that everybody has a count of 2 because we reloaded the table twice. So with the help of aggregator transformation, you could see the count, min, max, and all those aggregation functions you could generally do. Right, let me stop this package and I can open it back and see. So you have this count all option, and when I choose the first name, it was doing group by. You do even have an based on data types. Let's say what I'm gonna do is I have this component called data conversion. Okay, what does data conversion do is it can convert from one type to another. Okay, so what I'm going to do in here is basically what I'm trying to do is, as you see my person ID, even though I have it, I cannot find the max min of anything like that because it's an ID, right? I should be able to find the max min, sum, average, everything of it. Because the data type of this particular column is a varchar 50, it doesn't know what exactly the values are. So that's for that particular reason, it doesn't give me all those functions, max, min, sum, and average, and all those things. So I want to change it, right? So for that reason, I'm using a data conversion where I have an option to change it. So let's delete this connection out there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to connect to this session here. Okay, and open up. I'll say person. from a DT string, I want to convert it to an 2-byte unsigned integer. Okay, so that's gonna be okay. And now from here, I'm gonna connect it back to aggregation. And now if I open it and now choose a person, okay, I will uncheck this one. No, this is not the column. This is the column. Okay, now you can see that I have options like an sum, average, min, max, and all those functions, right? I could now find out the sum of information, right? Sum of all the person by name. My grid viewer will be bad, so I have to delete this connection and recreate it. Even the sort is sort would go off, so I have to go let it go. I'll get the sort back, connect it back here. Enable data viewer, and I can sort this information just for sake of showing. Okay, let's run it. You could see now based on the full name, everything is summed and is being showed, right? So that's how you could use an aggregator versus data conversion. Okay. So let's move on to the next available component. I would say condition split. All right. When I run this particular package, you could see based on the summation of the things we are doing, we have this nadar whose value is 1580, right? Where we have a Robert, which is cosmic, which is only 772. Now I want 3 different outputs whose value is between 0 to 500, 500 to 1000, and 1000 and beyond. I want those 3 guys as an output, all right, into 3 different outputs. I could use a condition split to do that. Okay, so let's take that as an example. We would use this condition split up here. Okay, I am going to delete it. Delete this one. I'm going to choose it, connect it here. I'll write a condition saying condition case 1. I would say low as my output name. I would say person greater than 0 Okay, what is the warning we are getting? Error at the data flow. Data type DTU is not compatible. It's incompatible with the binary format. The operator could not be implicitly cast. So what is this guy is asking us to do? He wants us to cast it, right? Typecast it. Okay, what is happening in here? DTI4. Okay, I understand it. probably the thing is coming up from here. When we chose a, we should have said 4-byte unsigned integer. Let's see if that makes any better. Have to delete these two things again. Use an aggregator transformation. Okay, from here it is going to be copy of this thing and full name. Copy of is going to be group by, whereas this one is going to be sum of, right? Okay. Now I have to choose the, what do you call, condition split again. Here it is. I could say connect to this one in the condition split. Now let's see if I can write a condition. Should be greater than 0. It's still the same error. Okay, just a second. Okay. Let's change the condition. I'll say anybody whose name is equivalent to or I could say anybody whose name starts with S. Okay. Okay. Find string is more than enough, right? Find string. Okay. And the find string is going to be, expression is going to be capital S. Occurrence is going to be 1. Okay, let's see what does substring. I have to find string is what I'm using. That's not what I have to use. I have to use a substring. Okay. Okay, what am I finding it? This is this one, start at 0. Okay. End at 50. Out of memory exception. Okay, this is gonna be double quotes, right? Okay, so that's my thing. I'll set this as a cases. I will replace the same exact function, okay, for t. Okay, if I do that, I'll say this is a case t. Anybody whose name starting with a case t would be migrated as that one. So to capture those, I could use a flat file to capture those, or I could use a sort operator, right? Just to show you guys how it works. So for that reason, I'm gonna choose a case s here. Okay, probably I'll just have a data viewer enabled. This is gonna be case t. Okay, and even then there is one more output which is called default output. If it doesn't fall in both of those conditions, what would happen? It will come into this default output. Okay, so let's enable the data viewer here. Okay, sort everything off. Okay, again same thing, sorting things off here. So let's run this package. So what would happen from the data source? It will go change its data type, do the sum for each first name, and then based on the condition split, it will move on to the respective channels, right? Okay, this is the full blown, right? This is the condition split information. Okay, before even condition split. Okay, let's close it down. So that means there is nothing out here and out here. So everything starts with either not S or not T. Okay, so let's do one more thing, rerun it again. So I know for sure K, L are for sure, right? K and L. Okay, stop this package. Let's go change our condition. Let's say if somebody's name is starts with K, they have to move to S output, and somebody's name is L, they have to start from this way. Okay, let's rerun it. Let's see. Now it has to show somebody. This is the conditional split output. Okay, even then it's not finding anything. Probably I wrote the condition itself wrong, right? So I was asking to find out what is the substring of this full name, starting with 1 to 50, right? I have to say 1 to 2. So starting at the first character, ending at second character. Let's rerun it again, see. So this is from the first thing. Even then it is not getting any information. First name starting with the first letter and length. Okay, so probably this is not right. Length 1 is good, just 1. Let's okay, we made those changes. Let's rerun it. Okay, this is SS and this is the condition default output. Okay, and this is case T. So anything that which is starting with L is being a case T, and anything which is starting with K is being case S. All right, so my conditional split condition was a little messed up, but I corrected it, and now you could see the information. Okay, so that's about the condition split. Okay, now let's say if I have this condition split, right? If I have 3 different outputs stored into 3 different files, let's imagine these are all stored into 3 different flat files. Now my boss gave me a requirement asking me to merge all those 3 files into one single file. How would I be able to do it? I have this something property called union all, which does it for me. Okay, so I could use a union all here, and I could connect back all the sorts from 1, from here to here, here to here, and then I could use a sort from here. And if I double click it, I could see everything is mapped right. Okay, and that's it. If I run it, now everything will be into one output. Let's write that output into a flat file. So let's take a flat file destination, convert this one to a flat file. Say new. Okay, so let's say sum underscore person. Okay, this will be the column names and this will be column names. Say okay, map the columns as an output. Okay, say okay. And if I execute it now, everything, almost 1300 rows would be moved back into this file, right? I could open this file and see everything in here. So this is another component which is called union all, which will take multiple inputs and merge it into one single output. Whereas condition split will take one input and split it into multiple outputs based on those conditions, right? This is opposite way. Okay, so that's about the the condition split versus aggregation, data conversion, and union all. Okay. Now there is also something called a multicast, which does exact of what union all does. Union all takes 3 inputs and converts into one output, right? Whereas multicast, what does it do is it takes one input and splits into multiple outputs without any condition. That means a same exact copy would happen. So let's say if I want to show you an example, what I can do is I'll go create a package. I will use an data flow task, and in the data flow task, I am going to connect to the SQL server itself. Same old training database. That's where I'm going to connect. Same, I would say person table. Let's say person table. And if I use a multicast, I'm going to use a sort operator to display. Let's say if I use 2 sorts. You remember we used expressions inside condition split, but we don't want to split anything. We want to have the same exact copy out here and out there too. So let's say if I do this one and say enable data viewer, and at the same time I'm going to say split it, same cast it, and enable data viewer. If I run this package now, you could see the almost same number of rows traveling from here to here and making 2 copies, moving 1 copy here and 1 copy here. Without, okay, there is something called number of input columns in sort output 1 or sort, not sorted. Okay, that has to be sorted. My bad. Now you could see this is for this one, and this is for multicast output 2. Okay, you see 2940. It comes here. It made 1 copy go here, another copy go here. That's what we are seeing, right? So that's how a multicast works. Okay, so